What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler and can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Sunday, May 31st. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league, kicking things off with the bad news as shortstop Connor Griffin was placed on the 10-day IL with a flexor strain. There was a moment when it looked like Griffin would avoid an IL stint after he returned to the lineup following a one-day absence, but the Pirates don't want to risk anything with their prized franchise shortstop. Pobo, president of baseball operation Ben Cherington, said that this would be a short-term stay for Connor Griffin, so hopefully it's best case scenario for Griffin and his flexor strain. Jared Triolo will take over at shortstop for the Pirates in the time being, and outfielder Ryan O'Hearn was activated from the 10-day IL in a corresponding move. He missed a couple of weeks with a quad strain, and with a crowded outfield in Pittsburgh, O'Hearn has displaced Marcell Ozuna as the everyday DH for the Pirates moving forward, and he homered in his return, getting right back to business. Next, relief pitcher Craig Kimbrell was placed on the 15-day IL with a wrist strain. That's tough news for Kimbrell, who was looking pretty strong after joining that Rays bullpen. The Rays also designated Andrew Wantz for assignment and then recalled both Cam Boozer and Trevor Martin from the minors to fill that bullpen. Next, starting pitcher Bailey Ober was placed on the 15-day IL with elbow inflammation. Do we think this is Ober's excuse for throwing sub 90 miles per hour all year? He's not fooling me. Either way, he'll miss at least a couple of weeks with elbow inflammation. Relief pitcher John Klein was optioned to the minors, which was a little bit confusing considering he's somebody that can provide some length, but in corresponding moves, relief pitcher Travis Adams was recalled for the minors, and relief pitcher Mike Paredes was selected from the minors. He's sort of a swingman in the same vein of John Klein, and he could replace the innings lost in Ober's absence, likely pitching some bulk relief outings. And lastly, starting pitcher Jansen Junk was placed on the 15-day IL with shin bone inflammation. It's a interesting one. The timeline for Junk's return is unclear, but what is clear is I was upset about this one because I picked him up as a streamer, and then, all of a sudden he's on the 15-day IL, and whoa, Connor Griffin's on the 15-day IL, and we're still waiting to hear about Maikel Garcia. Is he going to hit the IL with a hamstring strain? And that's how my fantasy team's going right now. So not very fun, but that's another huge blow to the Marlins rotation that already lost Robbie Snelling for the year, just lost Yuri Perez for like 6 to 8 weeks. And so now the question becomes, is it Thomas White time? Nope, it's Josh White time. The reliever was recalled from the minors. He was one of the most dominant relievers last year with a 1.86 ERA and a 41% strikeout rate between AA and AAA. But White has taken a step back due to a loss of control this year as he's seen his walk rate spike from 8% to 14%, and he did not look good in his debut, allowing 5 runs. I also wouldn't expect Thomas Wright to be the rotational replacement for Junk or any of the other guys either, as Ryan Gusto will be the first man up. He's expected to be recalled from the minors to start tomorrow in Washington. In terms of transactions, outfielder Kerry Carpenter was activated from the 10-day IL after missing about 3 weeks with an AC joint sprain in his shoulder. Carpenter will return to the strong side of a DH platoon with Mai Jones for the Tigers, as third baseman Gage Workman was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. Next, relief pitcher Matt Strahm was activated from the 15-day IL after missing a couple of weeks with knee inflammation. Strahm will return to being the top setup option for the Royals, and he could compete for the closer role in Kansas City with Lucas Erceg struggling mightily recently. I still like Daniel Lynch IV over both Strahm, Erceg, and everybody else in that Royals bullpen. And lastly, starting pitcher Carmen Mlodzinski was placed on the restricted list, likely due to his complaints about being removed from the rotation following the activation of Jared Jones. Mlodzinski informed the team yesterday that he wasn't ready to pitch, which is a weird thing to tell your employer. Really, it's like calling your boss and telling him, hey, I can't show up today. I'm not ready to work today. And that's usually not going to go over well. So Mlodzinski's in this weird state of, we don't know what they're going to do with him, but it seems like he does not want to be demoted to the bullpen. Maybe trade him to the Rockies. I'm sure he wouldn't like that either. Relief pitcher Cam Sanders was recalled for the minors in a corresponding move. And in terms of news, starting pitcher Ty Madden is expected to be activated from the 15-day IL to start today in Tampa Bay. Madden missed 2 weeks with a forearm contusion, and he will be replacing the injured Casey Mize in the Tigers rotation. Madden pitched to a 2.38 ERA in 3 bulk relief appearances earlier this month. his only time in the majors this season. And lastly, starting pitcher Jacob Lopez is expected to be optioned to the minors today after allowing 7 runs in 2 innings yesterday. Lopez has struggled to a 6.75 ERA and a 2% strikeout minus walk rate in 12 appearances this year. The A's were already in need of a rotational replacement for the injured Aaron Savali, so we can expect to see a couple of minor league starting pitching promotions in the coming days for Sacramento. My money's on Mason Barnett and Cade Morris. He's expected to be promoted to make his MLB debut on Friday in Houston. Morris is the A's number 12 prospect. He was acquired from the Mets in the Paul Blackburn trade, and he's pitched to a 4.45 ERA with a 19% strikeout rate in 11 starts at AAA this year. So that's Cade Morris making his debut for the A's on Friday. Now we can take a look at our notable performances from Sunday, a day in which we had a full slate of 15 games. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with outfielder Juan Soto, who helped the Mets to win against the Marlins, going 2 for 4 with a run, a home run, and 4 runs batted in. It was his 13th home run of the year, and he's now got a 994 OPS on the season. Soto's been dope since returning from the IL, and he's turned it on even hotter in his last 15 games, batting .382 with 9 homers and 4 steals for a WRC plus that's approaching 300. Juan Soto is absolutely locked in right now. You know who else is locked in is outfielder Ronald Acuna Jr. He did all he could, but the Braves lost in Cincinnati. He went 2 for 3 with a run, a home run, 2 runs batted in, and 2 walks for good measure. It was his 7th home run of the year, and he's now up to an 821 OPS. Acuna has 5 home runs across his last 4 games after hitting 2 all year, so he's finally tapping into that power. He's also chipped in 4 steals during that 4-game span, and yeah, I think Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be fine. Next, designated hitter Bryce Eldridge helped the Giants to win in Colorado, going 4 for 6 with 4 runs, 2 doubles, a home run, and an RBI, taking advantage of the thin air of Coors Field. It was his 2nd home run of the season and of his career, and it traveled 453 feet at 108 miles per hour, displaying Eldridge's elite power. The Giants haven't given Eldridge consistent playing time since he was promoted. It's sort of hard to fit him in the Giants lineup with Rafael Devers at first base and Casey Schmidt at DH as the club's best hitter this season. But since Elliot Ramos hit the IL a couple weeks ago, Schmidt has moved to left field, opening up daily DH duties for Eldridge, and he's responded by batting .353 in 10 games since then, while striking out less than 20% of the time and finally tapping into his elite power in this game on Sunday. Swing and miss has always been the main thing holding Eldridge back at the plate, and if he's getting playing time and managing his strikeouts at the same time, I think he's worth rostering everywhere. You might as well test him out and see what the Giants do when Ramos returns, sort of force their hand in that situation. And lastly, third baseman Brooks Lee did all he could, but the Twins lost in Pittsburgh. He went 2 for 4 with 2 runs, 2 home runs, and 3 runs batted in. He's up to 8 homers on the year now. The first one went 358 feet at 99 miles per hour, and the second one 393 feet at 102 miles per hour. Brooks Lee is not necessarily known for his bat, but the second multi-homer game of his career continues what has been his best season at the plate, sending his WRC plus north of 100 and his OPS to 740. What is Lee doing differently, and is it worth paying attention to? Well, he's not hitting the ball harder or pulling it more or hitting it in the air more. He is making a little more contact with fewer whiffs thanks to an increased out-of-zone contact rate, but I'm not really seeing anything to suggest this is a new version of the 2022 8th overall pick. The only thing going for Lee is that he plays every day and he bats second for the Twins, so expect him to be a decent run producer because of that spot in the batting order, but he's going to bat like 250 with about 15 homers and like 6 steals, which is really nothing special. It's decent in 15-team leagues and pretty solid in AL-only leagues. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Sunday, check out the Daily Batters Box article over on PitcherList.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Braxton Ashcraft, who helped the Pirates to a win against the Twins, tossing 6 innings, allowing just 5 hits and 2 earned runs, walking nobody while fanning 11. He induced 24 whiffs with 41% CSW across 80 pitches and earned the Golden Goal by leading baseball with those 24 whiffs to earn the Gallows Pole and earning the King Cole by leading baseball with his 41% CSW. This was a career high 11 strikeouts for Ashcraft, and he absolutely cooked with his breakers, sliders, and curves combined for 16 whiffs and 43% CSW, while four-seamers dominated left-handed batters for 6 whiffs and 42% CSW against them alone. I think Ashcraft is pretty close to being deserving of an ace label. Next, Yoshinobu Yamamoto helped the Dodgers to win against the Phillies, tossing 5 1/3 shutout innings, allowing just 4 hits and 2 walks while fanning 10. He induced 21 whiffs with 33% CSW across 104 pitches, and Yamamoto sat a tick up at 96 to 97 miles per hour with his four-seamer, and it dominated upstairs. That's what we've wanted him to do his entire career, throw that beautifully shaped fastball upstairs for whiffs. It worked here as Yamamoto struck out 10 batters. Next, we've got Ranger Suarez, who helped the Red Sox to win in Cleveland, tossing 5 innings, allowing 8 hits and 4 earned runs, walking 2 while striking out 10, induced 17 whiffs with 36% CSW across 93 pitches. And we've been a little worried about Ranger Suarez. He hasn't had his best command recently. He's been missing his changeup all year, and he lost his curveball last time out. And facing a right-handed batter, heavy Guardians lineup here, he'd need to have the changeup and curveball working, or have perfect command of his fastball variants, the cutter, four-seamer, and sinker. However, the slow ball was still missing here. The changeup was still missing with just 10% usage and 44% strikes, but the curveball reappeared, leading the influx of strikeouts for Suarez, staying below the zone to induce 8 whiffs and 54% CSW while accounting for half of the strikeouts. He also spotted his cutters and four-seamers beautifully, with the cutter, jamming right-handed batters and landing upstairs, while the latter, the four-seamer, stayed away from left-handed batters. But without the changeup or his slider and his sinker command a little bit haywire, he was hittable. A 667 BABIP is super unlucky, but he did allow 50% line drives and 58% hard contact, so some of that was deserved. Suarez is not destined to be a strikeout arm either. He was fortunate to produce a 77% put-away rate in 2 strike counts here, meaning we're going to see some regression in both directions. The whip will come down as the BABIP regresses, but so will the strikeouts as the put-away rate regresses. And I don't really want to test Suarez in the Bronx without his best command and with his changeups still missing. Lastly, we've got Jack Leiter, who helped the Rangers to win against the Royals, tossing 5 2/3 scoreless innings, allowing 3 hits and 2 walks while striking out 10. We had 4 pitchers strike out at least 10 batters on Sunday. Leiter induced 12 whiffs with 31% CSW across 101 pitches, and Leiter is clearly a coin flip every time. He has great stuff, but he rarely executes it effectively to produce successful starts. He commanded well enough on Sunday to turn in one of his best starts of the season. He filled up the zone with four-seamers, and as you could expect, Leiter got away with a lot, stealing 15 called strikes against a passive Royals lineup and avoiding damage with 11 foul balls on the heater alone. He was lucky to fan 10 batters as well on just 12 whiffs, and to go 8 for 11 on outs on balls in play. And this is all to say that Leiter wasn't at his best, and he just had a great outing, and nothing from this great outing suggests that he's changed at all. It's really up to you if you're willing to risk it for the biscuit versus the Guardians next. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Sunday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out my daily starting pitcher roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Yeah, if you haven't heard the news, I write the weekend editions of the roundup, and I'm also writing Monday's edition to fill in for Nick, so definitely go give that a read. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the closers that pitched out of save situations and the relievers that recorded saves. We'll start with the latter. Clayton Beeter recorded his 4th save with a scoreless 9th. Brian Baker pitched a scoreless 9th as well for his 16th save. Sam Moll got the final out of the game for his first save of the season. Tony Santillan opened the 9th, making it seem like he's the closer, but he allowed 2 hits and a run and was pulled. And this closing situation in Cincinnati is absolutely rough right now. David Peterson had a scoreless 4-inning save for his first save of the year. Tyler Davis got the final 2 outs of the game for his first save of the year. Sir Anthony Dominguez was unavailable after pitching on back-to-back days. Trevor McGill pitched a perfect 9th for his 8th save. Abner Uribe also pitched a perfect inning, but it was in the 8th inning, and I think that crotch chop might have cost Uribe his job. Jacob Latch pitched a scoreless 9th for his 7th save. And lastly, Hunter Dobbins had a 3 2/3 inning save, his first of the season. In terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Caleb Killian had a hitless 6th up by 7 and was awarded his second win. A little bit confusing there. I mean, that's, scores decision, but it's clear that Killian's no longer the clear-cut closer for the Giants after his blow up on Friday. We'll see if this was just an outing to get him back on track and he'll be thrust back into the closer role, or if we'll see a committee in San Francisco with Keaton Wynn and Eric Miller mixing in with Killian. Rico Garcia pitched a perfect 9th up by 4, and the Orioles are off today, so they were just getting Garcia some work. Aroldis Chapman pitched a scoreless 9th up by 5. The Red Sox are off today as well, but Chapman hadn't pitched since May 20th, like almost 2 weeks, which is crazy. So this was clearly a maintenance outing for Chapman. And lastly, David Bednar pitched a scoreless ninth up by 4. He hadn't pitched since last Monday. So this was a maintenance outing, and the Yankees are off today. So it was perfect timing. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's daily articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Monday, June 1st, a day in which we'll have just 9 games on the slate. My matchup of the day is Joe Ryan versus David Sandlin. We have an interdivision matchup as we have Joe Ryan, one of the aces of the league, squaring off against David Sandlin, who's making his second start of his career. I'm excited to see how these guys match up against each other, because we should see this matchup a lot moving forward if both of these guys stick with their current ball clubs for the next few years. In terms of probable starters, we've got 4 guys in the auto starts tier, including Joe Ryan. We've also got Jacob deGrom in St. Louis, Chase Burns versus the Royals, and Jose Soriano versus the Rockies. Our probably starts tier has 5 guys, and our questionable starts tier has 2, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in the aforementioned David Sandlin in Minnesota. He looked really solid in his debut. The fastball's pretty good, but it's mostly the curveball. That's the main star of the show. If he continues to throw strikes like he did in his debut and not revert to the guy that was somebody who struggled with his control in the minor leagues, and he can start to find some whiffability with his arsenal, I think Sandlin's going to excel in this start in Minnesota. I'd also keep an eye out for Sean Manaea, who will have an opener in Seattle. This is his return to the rotation. I just did air quotes for people listening and not watching on YouTube, because he's not starting. He's going to be the bulk reliever, which I think gives Manaea a better chance at a win. Also, the Mariners are not good against left-handed hitters, and this is in T-Mobile Park, which is a great pitcher's park, and I think that's like, you got all the recipe for success from Manaea. I don't really like his stuff, but I'm down to take the chance if you really need a win. If you're looking for a different pitcher with an opener, Chad Patrick is taking on the Giants, and he'll have an opener there. In terms of hitter suggestions, I target Rays hitters versus Ty Madden in Tropicana Field. It's not the best hitter's park, but Madden is returning from the IL, and I wasn't overly impressed with his first stint in the majors. I'd also target Nationals hitters versus Sandy Alcantara in Nationals Park. Alcantara has really struggled recently, so the Nationals could keep that trend going. I'd also target Royals and Reds hitters in Great American Ballpark. We got Luinder Avila squaring off against Chase Burns. We're in one of the best hitters parks in baseball. And lastly, I target Angels hitters versus Kyle Freeland in Angel Stadium, because Kyle Freeland has an ERA over 8, so the Angels should have a pretty good opportunity to score some runs. Now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. Tony Santillan, Brock Burke, and Sam Moll have all pitched on back-to-back days. So someone's going to have to step up in Cincinnati if a save arises. And I think the top candidates are maybe TJ Antone, Caleb Ferguson, and Zach Maxwell. And lastly, Clayton Beeter has pitched on back-to-back days. So one of Gus Varland or Richard Lovelady should get a save opportunity for the Nationals if one arises. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler, where I do daily SP streamers and break down every single start via the Pitcher List player cards. Tune into YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast, and make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.